This Georgia election integrity bill is getting quite a bit of traction, quite a bit of fluff, quite a bit of outrage. It's pretty good. You know what? All things considered, we got the text pulled up and we're going to take a look at it a little bit more in depth because it's just about 100 pages long, depending on how your formatting is, anywhere between 96 and 98 pages long. It's not all policy, a lot of it's introductions, just like lawsuits. It's got a whole bunch of little fluff in there, but yeah, it's really not bad. It covers a wide range of stuff, but the most important part of it, and this is something else, like, okay, all of the hubbub that's over on the left, I know real technical terms we're using here, is that, it's suppressing the vote and it's racist, it's a relic of the Jim Crow or Jim Eagle era, however you want to put it. But the entire point of it was to curtail the power of absentee balloting, okay? Make it a much more direct, a much more controlled area of elections. Which, you know what, unless you're trying to do nefarious shit, you should probably be making sure that if people are going to be taking their ballots off of specified controlled areas to make sure that everything's on the up and up, you should probably have a chain of command. And that's basically what it looks after. All said and done, that's what it's all about. But let's dive into this because I don't want to be here all fucking day. Former President Trump congratulates Georgia on passage of voting reform bill. Too bad these changes could not have been done sooner. I know, Trump, but won't be done again, hopefully. After big tech stripped former President Trump of his various social media accounts, more recently he's sending out former press releases of his tweets. And yeah, this was the extent of his email mailing list. I don't fucking know. He should really just set up his own forum. Who cares? No, I guess we'll see, 2 months? 3 months time by Independence Day. Actually, now that I'm trying to put the dots together, connect the dots, I'm starting to think that it'll probably launch something on July 4th. That would seem to make a terrible amount of sense. Anyways, this is what he didn't tweet but emailed out to everybody. Congratulations to Georgia and the Georgia State Legislature on changing their voter rules and regulations. They learned from the travesty of the 2020 presidential election, which can never be allowed to happen again. Too bad these changes could not have been done sooner. Yeah, and spurgouts are happening all over the place, but yeah, we'll focus on what it actually does, okay? Things like voter ID and shortening the time of runoff elections from 9 weeks to 4 weeks are being targeted by Georgia state officials, given the tumultuous impasse between November 2020 and January 2021. Not all of the improvements that this bill proposes, or I guess it's signed into law. Now I guess it's, enshrined in Georgia state law, if I could say that again for the 30,000th time. It also adds some other details as well. A telephone hotline for election fraud, which we have right here. The Attorney General shall have the authority to establish and maintain a telephone hotline for use of electors of the state to file complaints and allegation of voter intimidation and illegal election activities. Such hotline shall, in addition to complaints and reports from identified persons, also accept anonymous tips regarding voter intimidation and election fraud. The Attorney General shall have the authority to review each complaint or allegation of voter intimidation or illegal election activities within 3 business days or expeditiously as possible and determine if such complaint or report should be investigated or prosecuted. Great. Instead of just soliciting people for affidavits or to just come forth with a fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants election hotline, which was set up for the Trump defense team, this is enshrined in law for the entire state. That's terrific. What else did it purport to do? Expansions for poll officers. Several. It really defines their job. And remember, this is in the context of absentee balloting. So in the context if a certain challenge for a certain election arises, upon the filing of such challenge, the Board of Registrars shall immediately consider such a challenge and determine whether probable cause exists to sustain such challenge. If the registrar does not find probable cause, the challenge shall be denied. Not defining what the probable cause is, but it's not saying it requires definitive proof, so it looks like challenges are going to become something a little bit more commonplace, perhaps. If the registrar finds probable cause, the registrar shall notify the poll officer of the challenged elector's precinct, or if the challenged elector voted by absentee ballot, notify the poll officer at such absentee ballot precinct, and, if practically, notify the challenged elector and afford such elector an opportunity to answer. If the challenged elector appears at the polling place to vote, such elector shall be given the opportunity to appear before the registrar and answer the grounds of the challenge. If the challenged elector does not cast an absentee ballot and does not appear at the polling place to vote, and if the challenge is based on the grounds other than the qualifications of the elector to remain in the list of electors, elector, we get it, or further actions by the registrar shall be required. We continue down this, but I think you get the point. They're going to have a fairly significant role to play in future elections. And here is a little bit more clarification for the voting locations in the poll places themselves. In selecting polling places and advance voting locations, the superintendent of a county or the governing authority of a municipality shall select, wherever practicable and consistent with subsection D of Code Section 21.2.265, schoolhouses, municipal buildings or rooms, or other public buildings for that purpose. In selecting polling places and advanced voting locations, the superintendent of the county or governing authority of a municipality shall give consideration to the comfort and convenience those places to be selected will provide to both electors and poll officers. School, county, municipal, and other governmental authorities, upon request of the superintendent of the counties and the governing authority of a municipality, shall make arrangements for the use of the property of the polling places or advanced voting locations, provided, however, that such use shall not substantially interfere with the use of such property for the purposes of which it is primarily intended. So shoring it up, defining what is going to be used for the election and the advanced poll locations as well. And then they will also play a major part in the role of the chain of custody. Any person collecting ballots from a drop box shall have sworn an oath in the same form as the oath for poll officers set by said code. The collection team shall complete and sign a ballot transfer form upon removing the ballots from the drop boxes, which shall include the date, time, location, number of ballots, confirmation of the drop box was locked after the removal of the ballots, and the identity of each person collecting the ballots. The collection team shall then immediately transfer the ballots to the Board of Registrars or absentee ballot clerk, who shall process and store the ballots in the same manner as absentee ballots returned by mail are processed and stored. The Board of Registrars, absentee ballot clerk, or designee of the Board of Registrars, or absentee ballot clerk shall sign the ballot transfer form upon receipt of the ballots from the collection team. Such form shall be considered a public record pursuant to said code. Listen, we can go back and forth on this for the rest of the fucking day, but more importantly, this defines what poll officers are supposed to be doing. They will be much more plentiful at every polling location, and there's a clear chain of custody now from the point where drop boxes exist to the early voting locations. They will be sealed, they will be marked with who is in charge of them, and only that person will be counting them. Okay, so yeah, as it says here in the rest of this, or at least what we're going to read from this article here, poll officers and allows for advanced voting, which easily answers the concerns surrounding absentee voting mentioned by Biden. But what else? One last thing that we will go ahead and dispel. What is the penalty for breaking any of these new rules? Well, a person or entity in violation of subparagraph A, which... we'll just gloss over this quickly. A person or entities other than the Secretary of State, election superintendents, Board of Registrars, and absentee ballot clerks, and send the applications for the absentee ballots to electors in the primary election, or runoff, shall mail such applications only to the individuals who have not already requested, received, or voted an absentee ballot in the primary election or runoff. Any such person or entity shall compare its mail distribution list with the most recent information available. So they're going to be cleaning up voter rolls about which electors have requested, been issued, or voted an absentee ballot in the primary election or runoff, and shall remove the names of such electors from its mail distribution list. A person or entity shall be liable for any violation of this subparagraph if such person or entity relied upon information made available by the Secretary of State within 5 business days prior to the date of such application are mailed. So, with that out of the way, shall be subject to sanction by the State Election Board, which, in addition to all other possible sanctions may include requiring such person or entity to pay restitution to each affected county or municipality in the amount up to $100. Okay? Doesn't seem like a lot, right? But let's just say, okay, somebody's in charge of, Fulton County. We'll just go ahead and say that. And they're sending out absentee ballots all willy-nilly. They're not crossing their T's, they're not dotting their I's, they're not making sure that the information is accurate. They're sending it to the right person out there. Are they going to be sending out one ballot? No. Two? No. Hundreds. Thousands. That's going to rack up quickly. Okay? And you noticed how it says each county or municipality? That can go ahead and be extrapolated quite significantly, depending on the House race that's on there, depending on a presidential election that's on there. If it's at a state level, if there's multiple elections on that ballot, if there's multiple people that are affected by that less than legal ballot, that $100 ends up multiplying very, very quickly. So for any of the concern trolls out there that think that this is just not going to do anything, and if you're a black-pilled bedwetter, first of all, instead of trolling YouTube comments or YouTube videos themselves, you should just go out and find out what tensile of rope you're going to need and how sturdy and exposed of a rafter you can find. Or maybe just stop trying to find the worst in everything and just fucking do something positive with your life. How about that? Just a little pent-up aggression. So yeah, I'll link this 95-page bill if you are so inclined to read it. But yeah, a lot of good stuff in here. It shores up a bunch of absentee ballot programs, or rather problems that have been had over the course of the past few elections, and I would love this to be the template of other states going forward. Now, if they do stuff for the physical poll watchers, the distance, amounts, timing, things that have to be done in a certain time frame, like we can't just take breaks all willy-nilly from the time that those boxes are unsealed after they have been secured and have their proper notarization on them. You have to count everything. It all has to be done. But again, that will come in due time. The entire point of this bill was to shore up absentee balloting. It wasn't about counting the ballots. It was about making sure that the boxes and the ID are there. And here it is in the flesh, just so you guys know about the absentee ballots, or requesting the absentee ballots. The entire point of this is absentee ballots, obviously. But this is what you need for voter ID. Judge for yourself if this is racist or too much of an ask. Any person applying for an absentee by mail ballot shall make application in writing in the form made available by the Secretary of State. You can get that on the website, obviously. Or, do this weird thing like go down once the Secretary of State's office is open. In order to confirm the identity of the voter, such form shall require the elector to provide his or her name, date of birth, address as registered, address where the elector wishes the ballot to be mailed, and the number of his or her Georgia's driver's license or identification card issued pursuant to Article 5 of Chapter 5 of Title 40. If such elector does not have a Georgia's driver's license or identification card issued pursuant to Article 5 of Chapter 5 of Title 40, the elector shall affirm this fact in a manner prescribed in the application, and elector shall provide a copy of a form of identification listed in subsection C, we're not going to bother reading it, of Code Section 21-417. The form made available by the Secretary of State shall include a space to affix a photocopy or electronic image of such identification. Sounds awfully racist now, doesn't it? It was so egregious, in fact, the governor of Georgia's office got stormed by one very concerned House member, or just somebody trying to raise their profile, and they were just going to go ahead and scream at the top of their lungs wherever they'd be able to generate some headlines. White House deeply concerned with the arrest of a black Georgia state legislature for knocking on governor's door. I'm sure that there's more to this story. The White House on Friday said it was deeply concerned. That's not the only thing they said, but we got more videos to do. With the arrest of a Democratic state legislator, a black woman in Georgia, for knocking on the governor's door during a signing ceremony for a controversial voting bill. She couldn't get through all that reading in time, and she didn't know what she was going to be opposing, I'd imagine. State Representative Park Cannon. That'd be a sweet name for a detective in like a 70s crime drama. I'm just saying. Was seen on a now viral video rapping on a large brown door leading to Governor Kemp's office inside the state capitol. She was forcibly removed, arrested, and is facing 2 misdemeanor counts after repeatedly telling law enforcement officers she was an elected member of the Peach State Legislature and "you can't touch me, I'm a strong, independent black woman." I think anyone who saw that video would have been deeply concerned. I wasn't, said, stupid Pisaki. Fuck her and her Raggedy Ann haircut. Larger concern here obviously beyond her being treated in the manner she was, is that the law was put into place. I know, it's such a tragedy. Jim Eagle would be so offended. The law changes voting procedures in the state, which President Joe Biden surprisingly won last November, very surprisingly, over then-President Donald Trump, after Republicans had carried it since 1992. Oh, when a Democrat won it. Yeah, weird. It altered identification requirements for mail-based voting and makes it illegal to give water or food to people standing in line to vote. Oh my god. Democrats say that the latter is inhumane. I don't know why you need to be giving people free shit in order to fucking come out and vote, but hey, then again, I'm not a Democrat. Mark Riley, Georgia Department of Public Safety Information Director, said in a statement that Cannon was instructed that no one was in the front office and to stop beating on the door. So yeah, she was giving ample opportunity to cease her fucking bitching and whining. But no, she's got the opportunity to get the photo op that she so desperately wanted, and she'll generate the buzz in the headlines until whatever something else comes along. Just like how Andrew Cuomo managed to make all of those magical rape accusations or sexual improprieties just disappear into the fucking wind as soon as a bunch of unhinged people decided they wanted to shoot up a couple of places. But hey, who knows? Maybe that'll resurface in a few weeks, months, or years. Who gives a fuck at this point? But yeah, good template for the rest of the states to follow. I like the Georgia voter election integrity bill. Hopefully there's more to come, because there are never enough tears, and the Democrats will never run out of opportunities to fucking stand on whatever crisis they make for themselves. And speaking of which, we got some developments on their current pet project. That would be guns, and they aren't going to stop until everybody is disarmed, because Mao took the guns, Stalin took the guns, Hitler took the guns. They will not rest until 1776 will commence again. God damn it, I love Alex Jones. With that said, guys, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.